Captain Han Bin Lee stood at the main window of the HSS Pathfinder, looking into the darkness ahead. The ship's lights showed nothing but empty space, yet he knew what lay before them. The void, a place where normal space travel became impossible. The captain touched the cold glass of the window. After 20 years in space, this was the first time he had felt truly nervous. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, checking and double-checking their equipment. Captain called Dr. Jai-Yun Park from her science station. The final test results are ready. She walked over to him, holding a tablet. Her usual calm face showed excitement today. Han Bin turned to face her. "Tell me some good news, Doctor." "The new drive is working perfectly in all simulations," she said, showing him the data. "We can do what no other species has done before. We can enter the void safely." The captain nodded slowly. Humans had only been in space for 100 years, while other alien species had tried to cross the void for thousands of years. All of them had failed. Many ships had gone in, but none had come back. "Engineering report," Han Bin called out. Engineer Sung Min Cho's voice came through the speakers. "All systems are green, Captain. The void drive is running at full power. If Dr. Jai-Yun's calculations are correct, we're ready." Han Bin walked to his captain's chair and pressed the ship-wide communication button. "Attention all crew. This is your captain speaking. For 50 years, humanity has wondered what lies beyond the void. Every alien race we've met has warned us to stay away. They said it was impossible to cross. They said it would destroy us." He paused, looking at his crew. Their faces showed both fear and determination. "But humanity has never let the impossible stop us. Today, we will prove that the void is not our limit. It's our next frontier." Dr. Jai-Yun moved to her station, her fingers flying over the controls. Void drive powering up. Energy level stable. The ship's lights dimmed slightly as power moved to the new drive. Through the main window, Han Bin could see the strange darkness of the void beginning to swirl. It wasn't just black. It seemed to swallow the light from the ship's powerful beacons. "Distance to void boundary, 1,000 kilometers, reported Navigation Officer Yunho, his young voice steady despite the tension. "All departments, report status," Han Bin ordered. "Engineering ready. Medical bay standing by. Security teams in position. Science stations all green." Han Bin took a deep breath. "Begin approach. Slow and steady, Yunho." The HSS Pathfinder moved forward. The darkness grew thicker. Warning lights began to flash across every console as the ship's normal systems detected the strange physics of the void. 700 kilometers to boundary, Yunho called out. Dr. Jai-Yun's voice was tense. "Void drive is responding exactly as predicted. Power flow is stable. 500 kilometers. The darkness seemed to press against the windows now. Han Bin could feel a strange pressure in his head, like being deep underwater. Around him, other crew members rubbed their temples. 300 kilometers. Suddenly, all the regular ship systems went dark. Only the void drive's power kept their essential systems running. The pressure in everyone's head increased. 100 kilometers. Han Bin gripped his chair's armrests. Everything they knew about space travel said this was impossible. But here they were, about to prove everyone wrong. Void boundary in 3, 2, 1. The HSS Pathfinder crossed the boundary. The strange darkness wrapped around them completely. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. Then, through the darkness, they saw something no human had ever seen before, the true nature of the void. Captain Han Bin Lee smiled. "Send word to Earth. Tell them humanity has just taken its first step into the impossible." The message was sent, marking the moment when humans proved they could do what ancient civilizations had failed to achieve for millennia. The real journey was just beginning, and none of them could guess the amazing and dangerous things they would find in the void's endless darkness. The HSS Pathfinder had been traveling through the void for 3 days. The darkness outside was different from normal space. It moved and shifted like water. The crew had gotten used to the strange pressure in their heads, but everyone still felt on edge. Science Officer Taiwan Kim was the first to notice something unusual on his sensors. "Captain," he called out, "I'm detecting the structure ahead. It's large, about twice the size of our ship." Captain Hanbin left his chair and walked to Taiwan's station. The sensor display showed a faint outline in the darkness. "Can you tell what it is?" "It looks like." Taiwan adjusted his instruments. "Sir, I think it's a ship, and it's giving off a very weak power signal." Dr. Jae-yun Park joined them at the sensors. "Captain, this could be one of the missing ships that tried to enter the void before us. We should investigate." Han Bin nodded slowly. "Helm, take us closer, but carefully. Security teams on standby." As they approached, their lights revealed a sleek silver vessel. Its hull was marked with strange symbols, and parts of it showed damage from unknown forces. The ship was drifting silently in the void. "No response to our communication signals," Taiwan reported, "but I'm detecting life signs inside. Very faint, but they're there." Captain Han Bin made his decision. "Prepare a boarding team. Dr. Jae-yun, you'll lead with Security Chief Min-ji. We need to know what happened to them." The boarding team put on their special void suits and crossed to the alien ship through a sealed walkway. Their helmet lights showed empty corridors with walls made of a strange, shimmering metal. "The air is breathable," Min-ji reported, checking her instruments. "But keep your suits on for now." They found the bridge of the alien ship. Inside, most of the crew lay in what looked like sleep pods. Only one pod was open, and beside it stood a tall, silver-skinned being with 4 arms. "I am Duha," the alien said in perfect English, surprising everyone. "We have been waiting for someone to find us. I didn't expect it would be humans." Dr. Jae-yun stepped forward. "You speak our language. We learned it from your space transmissions," Duha explained. "We are Lyrans. Our ship, the Stellar Light, has been trapped here for 3 cycles of your years." "What happened to your crew?" Min-ji asked, looking at the sleep pods. "The void affects our minds," Duha said sadly. "We had to put most of the crew into deep sleep to protect them. I stayed awake to watch over them and monitor our distress signals. But you are different." Duha looked at them with strange, silver eyes. "You move through the void without difficulty. How is this possible?" Before they could answer, the ship's systems sparked with energy. Panels lit up, and a soft humming filled the air. "Impossible," Duha whispered. "Your presence, it's stabilizing our ship's systems. In all our years of study, we never thought." The alien's voice trailed off in wonder. Captain Hanbin's voice came through their communicators. "Dr. Jae-yun, we're detecting more ships in the area. A lot more. All powered down, just like this one." Duha moved to a control panel. "Yes, many ships have tried to cross the void. Some are from species that vanished thousands of years ago. We thought this place was a grave, but perhaps—" The alien looked at the humans with new respect. "Perhaps it was waiting for you." Dr. Jae-yun shared a look with Min-ji. They had come seeking answers about the void, but instead they had found something much bigger, a mystery that could change everything their galaxy knew about humans and their place in the universe. "Captain," Dr. Jae-yun called through her communicator. "Request permission to bring our new friends aboard the Pathfinder. I think we have a lot to learn from each other." As they helped the Lyrans prepare to move to their ship, Min-ji kept her hand near her weapon. In her experience, discoveries this big usually came with equally big dangers. She couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stepped into something much larger than a simple rescue mission. The medical bay of the HSS Pathfinder was crowded. Dr. Jae-yun Park stood in front of several screens showing brain scans. The images on the left were from the Lyran crew. The ones on the right were from human crew members. "Look at this," she said to engineer Sung Min Cho, who was studying the scans with her. "The patterns are completely different." Sung Min pointed to the human brain scans. Our brainwaves seemed to match the energy patterns of the void itself. Duha, who had been quietly watching from a corner, stepped forward. In all our years of space travel, we never saw anything like this. Your minds naturally sync with the void's energy. The door opened, and Captain Hanbin walked in. Tell me you have good news, Doctor. We have 23 rescued ships out there now, and Earth wants answers. Dr. Jai-yun nodded excitedly. Captain, I think we've figured it out. Sung-min, show him the engine tests. Sung-min pulled up new data on the screens. We connected our brain monitoring system to the void drive. Watch what happens when we feed human brainwave patterns into it. The engineer pressed a button. The drive's energy levels, which usually jumped up and down, became perfectly steady. It's like tuning an old radio. Sung-min explained. Our brainwaves match the void's frequency. When we use them to guide the drive, it works perfectly. Captain Hanbin looked thoughtful. Can we use this to help the other ships? We already have a plan, Dr. Jai-yun said. Sung-min has designed a device that can copy our brainwave patterns. We can install it on the other ships to help them navigate the void. Duha moved closer to the screens. This is why the void affected our people so badly. Our minds fight against its energy, while yours dance with it. Suddenly, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Captain, to the bridge, a voice called over the speakers. When they reached the bridge, Officer Taiwan was waiting with urgent news. Sir, 3 of the rescued ships just powered up on their own. Their systems are copying ours somehow. They watched as the dead ships came to life one by one. Duha's silver eyes widened. The void, it's connecting them to your ship. This has never happened before. Dr. Jai-yun rushed to her station. The void isn't just space we travel through, she said, checking the readings. It's alive in its own way, and it's learning from us, just as we're learning from it. Captain Hanbin sat in his chair. Can we control this connection? I think so, Sung-min said, working at his console. The human brainwave patterns seem to act like a key. We can use them to guide these connections. As they watched, more rescue ships began to power up. The void around them pulsed with new energy, as if it was waking up. Your people truly are something special, Duha said quietly. We thought the void was a barrier to keep us out, but perhaps it was waiting for minds that could understand it. Dr. Jai-yun turned to Captain Hanbin. Sir, with this discovery, we could create a network of void-powered ships. We could help all species travel safely through this space. The captain nodded slowly. Send a full report to Earth. Tell them we haven't just found a way through the void. We found a way to change how the whole galaxy travels through space. As the crew worked to understand their discovery, none of them noticed the strange new patterns forming in the void around their ship. Humanity had unlocked the door to the void's secrets, but they were about to learn that some secrets come with their own dangers. The news of humanity's success in the void spread quickly through the galaxy. 1 week after their breakthrough, Captain Hanbin Lee found himself standing before the Galactic Council. The great meeting hall was filled with representatives from 100 different species. Sunhee, the elder race representative, stood up from her seat at the high table. Though she looked human, her pale blue skin and glowing eyes showed her true nature. The council has read your report, Captain Lee, she said, her voice cold. We find it deeply troubling. Hanbin kept his face calm. Troubling. We've found a way to safely travel through the void. We can help all species do the same. That is exactly what concerns us, Sunhee replied. The void has kept the galaxy in balance for millions of years. Now humans want to change everything in less than a month. Dr. Jai-yun Park, standing next to her captain, stepped forward. We've already helped 23 stranded ships. We've saved hundreds of lives. Murmurs filled the hall. Some voices sounded angry, others afraid. Sunhee raised her hand for silence. Those ships should have known better than to enter the void, she said. Their rescue does not justify this dangerous experiment. Duha, who had come to support the humans, moved to the speaking platform. My people were among those rescued. The Lyran said. The humans didn't just save us. They showed us something amazing. The void isn't our enemy. We just needed the right key to understand it. A key that only humans possess. Son, he said sharply. That gives them too much power. Captain Hanbin looked around the hall. Some of the younger species representatives nodded in agreement with Duha, but the older races looked worried. We're not trying to gain power, Hanbin said firmly. We want to share what we've learned. Engineer Sungmin has already designed devices that let other species' ships use our discovery. And those devices require human brainwave patterns to work. Sun, he pointed out. You would control all void travel. Before Hanbin could answer, his communicator beeped urgently. Captain, Ta-One's voice came through. We're detecting unauthorized ships entering the void near Earth. They're using copies of our technology. The hall erupted in chaos. Sun He's eyes flashed with anger. You see, already your discovery brings disorder. The Council hereby orders all void research to stop immediately. You can't do that, Dr. Jai-yun protested. The void is neutral space. You don't have the right to. We have every right. Sun He interrupted. For the safety of all species, humans must withdraw from the void. Captain Hanbin stood straight and tall. With respect, Council Member Sun He, we cannot do that. The void is already changing. If we don't guide this change, it could become dangerous for everyone. Is that a threat, Captain? Sun He asked quietly. No, it's a fact. Something is happening in the void, something bigger than humans or elder races. We need to work together to understand it. The council chamber grew quiet. Sun He stared at Hanbin for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. You have 1 month to prove your words, Captain. After that, if the Council is not satisfied, we will take action to protect the galaxy, even if it means stopping humanity by force. As they left the Council chamber, Dr. Jai-yun looked worried. What do we do now, Captain? Hanbin's face was determined. We do what humans have always done, Doctor. We proved them wrong. Back on the Pathfinder, neither of them could know that hidden forces were already working against them, or that their next journey into the void would reveal secrets that even the elder races feared to remember. Deep in the void, the HSS Pathfinder's lights shone on something that shouldn't exist. Ruins. Ancient structures floated in the darkness, made of materials no one recognized. Chief Security Officer Minji Kang led the exploration team through the silent structures. Their suits kept them safe as they walked through corridors that hadn't seen life in thousands of years. Look at these markings, Dr. Jai-yun said, running her scanner over the walls. They're similar to elder race writing, but much older. Minji touched the wall carefully. Under her fingers, ancient circuits suddenly lit up with a soft blue glow. The whole structure began to hum with power. Everyone stay alert, Minji ordered. Her security team raised their weapons, but they all knew guns might be useless against whatever they found here. In the center of the structure, they found a room filled with tall crystals. Each crystal showed moving images, like ancient recordings. Dr. Jai-yun gasped as she watched them. Captain, she called through her communicator. You need to see this. When Captain Hanbin arrived, Dr. Jai-yun pointed to the crystal displays. These are records from the elder races, from thousands of years ago, but they're different from what we know. The images showed elder race ships moving through the void easily, just like human ships did now. They showed pilots connected to their ships in ways that looked very familiar. They could do what we do, Minji said quietly. They had the same connection to the void that humans have. But why did they stop? Hanbin asked. Why hide this knowledge? Duha, who had come with the captain, stepped closer to the crystals. Our oldest stories speak of the Void Walkers, the Lyran said. We thought they were just legends. But these records, they're talking about your people, Captain. That's impossible, Hanbin said. Humans have only been in space for 100 years. Dr. Jai-yun moved to another crystal. Look at this one. It shows something coming out of the void. something that scared the elder races so much that they sealed off this whole region of space. The crystal showed massive shapes moving through the void, larger than any ship they had ever seen. The elder race ships in the recording fled from these beings. They weren't sealing the void to keep us out, Minji realized. They were trying to keep something else in. Suddenly, their suit radios crackled with strange sounds. The structure's lights pulsed in rhythm with the noise. "It's a message," Duha said, silver eyes wide. "The ancient systems are responding to your presence. They recognize what you are." Before anyone could respond, new images appeared in the crystals. They showed Earth, but not as it was now. They showed Earth as it was thousands of years ago, and strange ships in the sky. "Captain," Dr. Jai-Yun's voice shook slightly. "I don't think humans learned to use the void. I think we remembered how." The structure trembled. More systems were waking up, responding to the human presence. In the darkness of the void beyond their lights, something vast began to move. "Back to the ship," Captain Hanbin ordered. "Now." As they hurried back to the Pathfinder, Minji couldn't shake the feeling that they had just started something that couldn't be stopped. Humanity hadn't just found its place in the galaxy. They had rediscovered it, and somewhere in the void, ancient forces were waking up to greet them. The HSS Pathfinder raced through the void, trying to reach Earth with their discovery. The crew needed to tell the world what they had found in the ancient ruins, but someone on the ship had other plans. Engineering assistant Yunho was checking the void drive's power levels when he noticed something strange. The readings weren't right. He put down his tablet and walked closer to the main control panel. "That's odd," he said to himself. The power flow was changing in ways it shouldn't. He reached for his communicator to call Engineer Sungmin, but stopped when he heard footsteps behind him. "Don't move," a voice said. Yunho turned slowly and saw crew member Dae-sung pointing a weapon at him. Dae-sung's eyes glowed with an unnatural blue light. "The void must stay sealed," Dae-sung said, but his voice sounded wrong, as if someone else was speaking through him. "The ancient ones must remain sleeping." Yunho looked at his tablet, then at the void drive controls. The power levels were becoming dangerous. If they kept rising, the drive would explode. The elder races were right to hide the truth. Dae-sung continued walking toward the drive controls. Humans were not meant to return here. "Return?" Yunho asked, trying to keep Dae-sung talking while he thought of a plan. "What do you mean?" "Your kind abandoned this realm long ago," Dae-sung said. "The elder races helped seal away your memories, your powers. It was necessary. But now you've found your way back, and they are awakening." Warning lights started flashing across the control panels. The void drive was heading toward overload. If it exploded, it would destroy the ship and maybe tear open the void itself. Yunho had to make a choice. He could try to stop Dae-sung, or he could try to save the drive. There wasn't time for both. With a quick movement, Yunho dove for the control panel. Dae-sung fired his weapon, but Yunho was already typing commands into the system. He had to shut down the drive before it was too late. "Warning, drive containment failing," the computer announced. "Automatic shutdown not responding." Yunho's fingers flew over the controls. He could hear Dae-sung coming closer. The possessed crew member raised his weapon again. In that moment, Yunho understood what he had to do. Instead of shutting down the drive, he reversed its power flow. The ship lurched violently. Dae-sung fell, his weapon sliding across the floor. The blue light left Dae-sung's eyes, and he collapsed. But Yunho couldn't help him yet. The drive was still in danger, and his desperate move had caused new problems. "Emergency alert," the computer announced. "Ship has entered deep void territory. No known maps available. Cannot calculate return route." The engine room door burst open. Security Chief Minji ran in with her team, followed by Engineer Sungmin. "What happened here?" Minji demanded, seeing Dae-sung on the floor. "He tried to destroy the drive," Yunho explained quickly. "Something was controlling him. I had to make a choice. I saved the drive, but he looked at the navigation display. I think I got us lost in the deepest part of the void. Engineer Sung Min checked the systems. The drive is stable now, but we're farther in than any ship has ever gone. We don't have enough fuel to try random directions until we find our way back. Over the ship's speakers, Captain Hanbin's voice was calm but serious. All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We need to figure out where we are, and what we're going to find out here in the deep void. As Yun-ho followed them to the bridge, he wondered if he had made the right choice. They were alive, but they were trapped in unknown territory. And somewhere in this darkness, ancient forces were stirring. Forces that some would kill to keep secret. 3 days had passed since the HSS Pathfinder became lost in the deep void. The ship's supplies were running low, and the crew was starting to lose hope. But something strange was happening to the human crew members. Dr. Jae-yun Park sat in the medical bay, studying new brain scans of the crew. The patterns she saw amazed her. "Captain," she called through the ship's communication system, "you need to see this." Captain Hanbin arrived quickly. He had not slept well in days, but his eyes were bright with an unusual energy. "What have you found?" "Our brains are changing," Dr. Jae-yun explained, pointing to the scans. "The deep void is affecting us, but not in a bad way. Look at these patterns." The brain scans showed waves of energy moving through their minds, similar to the patterns they had seen in the ancient ruins. As they watched, the patterns grew stronger. "I can feel it," Hanbin said quietly. "The void. It's like I can hear it speaking." Duha, who had been observing from nearby, stepped forward. The legends of the Void Walkers spoke of this. They could sense paths through the darkness. They could feel the currents of space itself. Suddenly, engineering assistant Yun-ho burst into the medical bay. "Doctor, Captain, something's happening in engineering. The void drive, it's responding to our thoughts." They rushed to engineering. The drive's control panels were dark, but the machine hummed with power. Engineer Sung Min stood before it, his eyes closed in concentration. The energy levels rose and fell with his breathing. "I can control it without touching it," Sung Min said, opening his eyes. "We all can. It's like the ship has become part of us." Security Chief Min-ji entered the room, her face serious. "It's not just the drive. The whole crew is reporting strange experiences. Some can see energy paths through the void. Others say they can feel distant ships moving through space." Dr. Jae-yun checked her instruments. "Our DNA isn't changing, but our brains are evolving rapidly. It's as if the void is awakening something that was always inside us." "The ancient records were right," Duha said. "Humans didn't gain these abilities. You're remembering them. Your ancestors were the Void Walkers." Captain Hanbin closed his eyes. In his mind, he could suddenly see paths stretching through the darkness. They were like rivers of energy, flowing through the void. He could feel his crew's consciousness joining with his, forming a network of minds connected through the ship. "I know the way home," he said, opening his eyes. "But that's not all I can see. There's something out here, something massive, and it knows we're here." Dr. Jae-yun looked at her captain with concern. "What should we do?" "We need to understand what's happening to us," Hanbin said firmly. The elder races feared this evolution, but running away solved nothing. It's time to face whatever's out there. The ship's lights dimmed as the crew's new abilities grew stronger. Through their shared consciousness, they could feel ancient presences stirring in the deep void. Their transformation was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. "Plot a course deeper in," Captain Hanbin ordered. "If we're going to remember what we truly are, we need to go to where it all began." As the Pathfinder moved through the darkness, none of them could guess that their next discovery would shake the foundations of everything they thought they knew about human history and their place in the universe. The HSS Pathfinder moved through the deepest part of the void, where no ship had gone before. The human crew members could now see the energy strings clearly with their minds. Captain Hanbin stood on the bridge, watching patterns of light that only human eyes could see. "There," he said, pointing to what looked like empty space. "That's where we need to go." Dr. Jai-yun checked her instruments. "Captain, I'm detecting massive structures ahead. They're bigger than anything we've seen before." As they got closer, enormous gates became visible in the darkness. They were made of the same material as the ruins they had found earlier, but these were perfectly preserved. There were hundreds of them, forming a vast network through the void. "These are transport gates," Duha said in amazement. "The legend spoke of them. They can move ships instantly across the galaxy." Engineer Sun Min studied the readings. They're powered by the void's energy itself. One gate could transport 1,000 ships at once. Suddenly, all the gates lit up with bright blue light. The human crew members felt a presence touch their minds. It was ancient and powerful, but it felt familiar. "Welcome home, children of Earth," a voice spoke in their thoughts. "We have waited long for your return." Captain Hanbin stepped forward. "Who are you?" "We are the Guardians," the voice answered. "We were left here by your ancestors, the original Void Walkers, to wait for humanity's return." Images filled their minds. They saw ancient humans, advanced beyond imagination, building the gates and exploring the void. They saw the discovery of strange and dangerous things in the darkness. They saw their ancestors making the difficult choice. "Your people were the first to master the void," the voice explained. "But you found things you were not ready to face, so you chose to start over. You sealed away your powers and your memories, returning to Earth to grow again from the beginning." The elder races, Dr. Jai-yun realized. They were meant to watch over us as we developed. "Yes, but some of them grew fearful of your return. They tried to keep you from remembering who you were." Security Chief Min Jae looked at the gates with wonder. "What happens now?" "That is your choice," the voice said. "The network is yours by right of inheritance. You can activate it, opening new paths through space for all species. But be warned, the dangers your ancestors fled still exist in the far void." Captain Hanbin turned to his crew. He could feel their thoughts, their hopes, and their fears. They had learned so much, but they still had much growing to do. "We'll take the gates," he said firmly, "but we'll open them slowly and carefully. We'll learn from our ancestors' mistakes, and we'll help other species understand the void, not fear it." The voice seemed pleased. "A wise choice. The network responds to human thoughts. You can control which gates to activate and when. Use this power well." Captain Hanbin sent a message to Earth and the Galactic Council. He told them about the gates, about humanity's true history, and about their plans for the future. "The void isn't just a dark space between stars," he wrote. "It's a test. Our ancestors knew we would return only when we were ready to face it. Now it's time to help the whole galaxy understand what we've learned, that the darkness isn't something to fear. It's a doorway to something greater." As the Pathfinder began its journey home, the crew knew that everything would change. Humanity had not just tamed the void, they had remembered their place as its guardians. A new age was beginning, and this time they would face it together with all species who were brave enough to journey into the unknown.